Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let the world around you fade. Together, we will journey to a realm where myths come alive and mysteries whisper their secrets. This is your moment to pause, to wonder, and to escape. The Three Cries of Morrígan, Omens of Fate and War. Whispers on the wind. In the shadowed hills of ancient Ireland, long before the time of kings and saints, the land was ruled by the old gods and shaped by prophecy. Among them was Morrígan, goddess of war, fate, and death. She was no gentle spirit. Morrígan walked the battlefields cloaked in ravens' wings, her voice both a blessing and a curse. It is said that when she wept, the world itself listened and trembled. On 3 separate days, Morrígan cried out across the land, and each time her cries marked the beginning of sorrow, the turning of tides, and the march towards inevitable doom. The first cry, the coming storm. It began in the time before the great battle of Mag Trid, when the Tuatha De Danann, people of the goddess Danu, prepared to face the monstrous Morrígans, an ancient race of chaos and destruction. As warriors gathered beneath storm-black skies, a lone figure stood on a riverbank. A washerwoman, her hands stained red, silently scrubbing blooded garments in the stream. She did not speak, but those who passed knew her name, Morrígan. She cried then, not loudly, but with a whisper that rippled across the water and echoed in the minds of every man who heard it. Her lament foretold the blood to be spilled, and those who saw her knew their deaths were near. The first cry of Morrígan marked the start of the war, and though the Tuatha De Danann would eventually triumph, it came at great cost. Heroes fell, kings were wounded, and the land wept with her. The second cry, betrayal at Aon Macha. Years passed and the world moved on, but Morrígan never forgot. Her presence loomed like mist upon the moors, watching, waiting. In Aon Macha, the capital of Ulster, a new tale unfolded. The Red Branch warriors, proud and strong, feasted and drank, blind to the warning signs around them. Ravens circled overhead, the cattle grew restless, and dreams turned sour. And then, in the dead of night, she cried again. This second cry echoed across the stone walls of Aon Macha, through the trees and into the hearts of all men. It was a cry of betrayal, of fate moving forward like an unstoppable tide. The next morning, chaos reigned. Brothers turned on one another. A war council was torn apart by suspicion and pride. Morrígan had not lifted a finger, yet she had guided the hand of destiny. The second cry was not a warning, but a reminder. Fate could not be outrun. The third cry, the death of Cuchulainn. The final cry came with the death of Ireland's greatest hero, Cuchulainn. He had been Morrigan's chosen, a warrior of fierce power and unmatched valour. She offered him her loved ones in disguise, but he refused. And though she admired him still, she knew his fate was sealed. On the day of his final battle, Morrígan appeared again, not as a woman, but as a crow perched on a branch. She watched silently as Cuchulainn faced impossible odds. When the spear pierced his body and he bound himself to a standing stone to die on his feet, she cried her third and final cry. It was not one of sorrow or vengeance, but of finality. The sound tore through the skies, turning day to dusk, and was carried on the wings of ravens across all of Ireland. The era of heroes had ended. Our world changed. After the third cry, Morrígan vanished from the world of men, but her presence lingered. Some say she appears still on the eve of war, washing blood from garments or circling above the doomed in raven form. Others say she cries no more, because all her warnings have been given, and we are now left to choose whether to heed them or to fall into the same circles of fate. Lesson of Morrigan's Cries. Morrigan's tale is not just one of war and prophecy, it's a story of listening, truly listening to the voices that guide us. Each of her cries offered a chance to reflect, to understand, and to change course. But again and again, her warnings went unheard or unheeded. So what do we take from her three cries? That fate is not fixed, but it echoes. That history repeats when we ignore its signs. That the future speaks, if only we're brave enough to listen. And perhaps the most haunting question of all, if Morrígan were to cry again today, would we hear her? Or would her voice be lost in the noise of a world too busy to listen? As the whispers of myth fade into the stillness, carry their magic with you into the world. Until we meet again, may your spirit wander, and may your days be filled with wonder. Thank you for listening to Whispering Myths. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more, be sure to subscribe to Whispering Myths. That way, you won't miss out on any of the magical tales that I share. Don't forget to like this video and leave a comment. Thank you for listening, and until we meet again, may the whispers of myths guide your dreams.